Welcome back to our Loving Waters 7 days of rest, wisdom sharing, wisdom for all life. And today is day 6, and our focus and dedication is to biodiversity. And we are, it's a miracle. That's all I can say. You have to have a sense of humor with all this technology and the fact that everything concurrently is working in its own way. That just a deep gratitude to our collective waters. So tonight we're excited to have Maya Shaw Gale, one of our Loving Waters Stewarding Council members, and we're doing something fun tonight, something special. We've invited grandparents and children, and Maya has written a children's book about water, which she'll be telling us more about. And we will also be talking about the pledge and how you can use that in schools and in communities. So welcome to our evening experience, really. So I invite you to have a glass of water or water from your altar, or as you can see tonight, my giant bowl shrunk. And here's my altar. Everyone's holding up their little, I'll try to bring mine closer. You'll see a pua shell from New Zealand here, a gift. So with that, I'm going to say thank you to the 7 days of rest and hand it over to Maya. And we always end with a water blessing, so stay with us.
Thank you, Shelley. Everybody, welcome to the day 6 of the 7 days of rest. I hope you've all had a chance to tune into some of the beautiful offerings on the 7th day of rest, blessings and ceremonies and talks and presentations and projects. And today our theme is diversity and biodiversity. And I love that it's like the two sides of a coin, diversity being on one side and unity the other. And this idea of differences in all interconnected, and at the core, a similarity through all, like a thread through all the different forms on life. And that thread that we know and honor is water. And that water on this planet takes so many different forms. Just water as itself, it's, flowing water, it's ice, it's in the molecules of the air, creating clouds and steam. And it's also creating the shape in all of us and all the animals and all the plants. So it's a beautiful example of it's still itself, it's still water, H2O, but it takes all these forms. And I love that being different and unique doesn't mean that we have to be separate. We can be connected and united. And being connected and united and in unity doesn't mean that we give up our differences and we're all the same. So it's understanding like that, like the warp and weft, the weaving of a blanket or a fabric, is that both are true, and water is just the most amazing teacher of that. And today it's also a new moon. So I just honor that fact, and we will have I think a new moon, Loving Waters new moon monthly call after this. And remembering we're in a new year and we're in the new moon. So it's a wonderful opportunity to think about starting over, about new beginnings, about new projects, new ideas, and a wonderful fresh start time. So today, I'm hoping that we're calling in families, children, parents, grandparents, to enjoy some storytelling about water. And I'm going to share a little book that I've written, but that it's very much based on a true story told to me by a Paiute man who we call an elder, an older person who has learned a lot of life's lessons and is passing that wisdom on. We also call them wisdom keepers, and passing that wisdom on. And in many indigenous cultures and in the times where the Native Americans lived in their own natural tradition, and many of them carry that on now, the way they didn't have schools, they didn't go to a building that was a school. They learned by listening to the elders, the people who had lived a lifetime and learned many lessons in life and had learned how to live in harmony with the plants, the animals, the water, the elements, the fire, the air, and could pass that wisdom on. So the main way they did that was by telling stories. And children learned to listen. They didn't have television, they didn't have movies, they didn't even have picture books. They had to listen and use their own imagination, their own mind to create the pictures that went with the words and the teaching. And that's something that, I don't know, we kind of lost that a lot in this culture. And I think it would be wonderful to bring back more storytelling, and for all of the children and the children inside of us older people too, to enliven and awaken our imaginations. So I invite us, and if you have your water, we all showed our water. I keep my water on my altar in this little crystal bowl, and it actually has a crystal inside of it. Or it could just be a cup of water, a glass of water. And if you get your water now, so that we can think about how we're going to talk to water and learn to connect with water, because water has its own intelligence and it can respond to our thoughts, our feelings, and our words. And this story is actually about how this little boy named Little Bear learned from his elders how to talk to water and how to relate to water. And this story was told to me by this Paiute elder named Marshall Golden Eagle Jack. And he was a Paiute, and they lived in the Sierra Mountains near California and Nevada. And his special medicine, his special way of working was with the water. And he learned how to talk to the water and bless the water. And as a grown-up, he created medicine water wheel ceremonies and taught people how to do them. But it was when he was really little. So this is his story, and I used my imagination to expand on it a little. And so I invite you to listen from that place of letting your imagination paint the pictures and imagine this little boy talking to his elder and learning from him. It's called Little Bear Learns How to Talk to Water. And I'm going to take a drink of water before I start. So it's told from the viewpoint of a little boy. My name is Little Bear, and when I was growing up, I lived with my people in a large campground in the forest. One springtime, when I was 5, I noticed that many of the elders were not around our camp. So I asked my grandmother, where did they go? She said they went up to talk to the mountains. I thought about that for a minute and then told my grandmother, when I get big, I'm going to go with them to talk to the mountains too. I wasn't sure what I would say to the mountains, but I knew I wanted to go anyway because that's what elders do. And maybe they would tell me what to say. So then when I was 7, I went to a fire ceremony with my grandmother, and I sat next to one of the elders, a grandfather who had just come down from the mountains. I felt very shy, but I got up the courage to talk with him. I asked him, why do you talk to the mountains? He looked over at me and smiled. Because it is our job to take care of our lands, to talk to all the things that live in our lands, and to help them. He pointed to a group of elders and said, you see those elders over there? Yes, I said, as I looked across the fire to a group of grandfathers and grandmothers who were talking quietly to each other. they go and talk with all the newborn plants. And those elders over there go to talk to all the newborn animals. What do they say to all the new plants and animals, I asked. Now, this is where it gets interesting. He told me that the elders tell them about the special job they have in our lands and how they can do that job well. The new ones need to be taught, just like you, little bear, he said. So they go and tell all the babies what to do? I asked. He responded, yes, because they need to know how to live together and how to work together in a good way. So then I asked him, well, who do you talk to? He spoke softly. My job is to talk to the newborn waters, the water babies that come to the earth in the winter snow. And he said, I take these with me. And he reached down to pick up a few small sparkly stones. I had never seen any stones like this before, but I loved how beautiful and shiny they looked. He held one up to the sunlight, and I could see almost clear through it. He called the stone a crystal and told me that he puts a lot of them in the water to help the water babies get strong. He then explained that the water babies have to get strong because they have a long way to travel back to their mother, the big water. Now, I didn't know that the big water he was talking about was the ocean. I had never seen the ocean. So I just closed my eyes and imagined a giant loving grandmother waiting with arms open to welcome the water babies. Then the grandfather went on with his story, and he said the water needs to get as strong as it can be to get all the way back to its mother. So I go up to the high mountain streams where the new water babies are just starting to melt from the snow and flow down the mountain. I ask permission to talk with the water. Now, it's very important to always start with asking permission. It's a way to offer respect. Like respecting the elders, I said, and I was thinking about how often my own grandmother had reminded me to respect my elders. Oh, I said, blushing a little and adding, I think I forgot to ask permission to talk to you. But the grandfather just smiled and put his hand on my shoulder and said, that's okay, little bear. You're still learning. I like learning, I said, and I did. It felt very special to have an elder teach me all these important things. The grandfather looked into the fire and he continued his story. So when the time seems right, I begin to talk to the water. I explain to it how far it has to go and how it must keep on flowing even when the rocks or the tree roots get in the way. Then I help it to get strong with my medicine. What's your medicine? I asked. Well, my medicine is my special gift for healing, for using my drum and my rattles, those crystals I showed you, and my songs to send good energy to the water. But you know, everyone has their own special gift or medicine. Little Bear says, do I have a medicine too? Of course, he replied, smiling, and when you get older, you will learn what your special medicine is. Well, I wanted to know now. I wondered if he could see my medicine because he was already older. So I said, you are older than me. Can you see my medicine from where you are? He laughed out loud until his eyes crinkled up. Well, little bear, I think part of your medicine must be asking questions. Oh, I said, is that a good kind of medicine? Yes, he spoke kindly and softly. It means you want to understand things. But it's also good to know that sometimes you can understand things by just being quiet and listening. Questions help the mind to understand, but listening helps you understand with your heart. I could feel my face getting hot. Maybe I need to listen more, I thought to myself. But I like your questions, little bear, he added with a twinkle in his eye, as if he had heard me thinking. You can ask me as many questions as you like, as long as you listen to the answers with your heart. So I put my hand on my chest and imagined my heart growing very big ears. I can learn to do this, I thought. So I just stayed quiet and waited. I think I'm reading a bedtime story for Shelley. The grandfather looked back into the fire and was quiet for a while too. And then he continued his story. So what I do is I sit beside the water and I sing my songs, I play my drum, and I shake my rattles. And when I'm doing this, I send love from my heart to the water babies, and I think about them getting strong and clear. My love and my good thoughts make waves of energy that flow into the water and help it to become more powerful. I also send my love and thought energy into the crystals, and then I put the crystals in the water and help it remember all the help it's getting as it travels on its long journey down to the ocean. Oh, so you talk to the water with your heart and your mind together, I spoke up excitedly. I couldn't help myself. I was thinking about what he had said about those two kinds of understanding. The grandfather looked at me with his warm brown eyes shining, and he smiled. He didn't say anything for a few minutes. Then he answered, yes, that is a very important part of my medicine. That way of talking is what helps the water babies get strong enough to make their long trip back to their mother, the ocean. How far do they have to go? I asked. And then I reminded myself just to listen and to his answer with my heart. He told me the water babies had to travel very, very far, and that they needed a lot of medicine to make that journey. He picked up a stick and drew a long, wiggly line in the dirt. As it flows down the mountains into the creeks join to make a river where the beavers create a pond with sticks. And he drew more wiggly lines joining into the first one, and then he drew a circle for the beaver pond. Then the water keeps traveling down to where other medicine people live, and they add their medicines into the water just like I did. Many, many medicine people help the water babies get back home in a good way. I just kept listening, didn't say anything. Then he told me, you never put anything in the water that will harm the water or make it difficult to get back to its mother. If you do, the water will get weak, and then everything that drinks it will also get weak. If our water gets sick, then everything else will become as sick as the water. So never put anything in the water to make it sick or weak. And always remember this: if you always ask permission to use the water and then thank it, the water will remember you and it will take care of you. He stopped talking and looked at me as if he was waiting for me to ask another question. I could only nod my head to say yes. Thinking about the water and me taking care of each other made my heart feel very warm. I didn't have any more questions. The grandfather looked into the fire again, then reached down to a leather pouch beside him and pulled out a beautiful big eagle feather. Then he stood up and he waved the feather all around my head and shoulders and spoke some words that I didn't understand, but I knew he was giving me a special blessing. When he was finished, he reached into his pouch and pulled out one of the shiny crystals and handed it to me. Then he looked into my eyes and said, "Now you go and talk to the mountains and the waters. That's what we medicine people do." And that's the story of how Little Bear learned how to talk to the waters. So you might remember the parts of that story and think about ways that you can give your medicine to the water. And are you a good singer? Do you like to sing beautiful songs, loving songs to the water? Do you play an instrument, a flute or a guitar or just a drum that you can make music to the water? Can you just speak beautiful words, prayers, blessings to the water? And what are the ways that you can give your medicine to the water? Because water remembers everything and it holds the energy of what we give it, and it helps the water to stay strong. And then when the water's strong and we drink the water, it helps us to stay strong. So if there was a whole circle of kids here around, I would ask them what they learned or what they liked about the story. What was their favorite? What's your favorite part? And what would you like to do? What do you think your medicine is that you give to the water?
Well, Maya, that was incredible. And just like when someone's reading me a story, I just started like falling over. It was like, so it starts reading. But just what an incredible story. And I can see that clear water just rushing and down from the mountain, and the source water, from the tops of the mountains, the headwaters, and being near that fresh water alone just gives us such vitality. So why don't we just open it up and let each person just share just what's coming to them, and
maybe what the story evoked in you or what it reminds you of in your relationship with water.
Right. Just pop on, unmute yourselves.
I will a little bit. Such a beautiful, beautiful message for the children.
And the children in all of us.
Yes. And so many deep messages within it.
What message did you hear?
Oh, such rich guidance for them to alight their imaginations and take it into their being. They're being born with such rich wisdom in their souls now. They are wisdom keepers. So this can serve to just illuminate the light that's within them and be able to help them really, truly begin to wonder about their purpose. It's just such a masterful work, and I thank you so much. I'm complete. The heart is what spoke to me, the messages of the heart.
The two ways of understanding.
Yes.
Questions for the mind to understand and for the heart.
And the listening that we need to do, younger or elder, the listening. Thank you. Namaste.
Yeah, it doesn't say that in the story, but we can learn to listen to the water. The water can speak to us. We can listen to trees. We can listen. We weren't taught that, but little children seem to know that intuitively. And when I do water ceremonies or water teachings for the children, they get that you can listen to other beings. And
Thank you for sharing that story, Maya. Thank you for putting the effort into creating it. Is it illustrated?
Not yet. And I would like to have a Native American illustrator, and it's a little tricky because illustrator is different than just a painter or an artist. You know, in order to illustrate a book, there's certain skills of creating a character and carrying them through. But I am inviting that, and I also am now starting to send it out to some publishers because they are in contact with artists. So, but it is wonderful to go back to that place of just using the imagination. You know, so I think it's good both. Picture stories, picture books are wonderful, and it's also good for us to improve our ability to make pictures inside our minds and our hearts.
And you've read this to groups of children before?
Yes.
What feedback have you gotten from the children?
Oh, they pick up on things. They get that, you know, I got to listen with my heart. And, you know, I ask them, what does that mean? And they'll go, you know, it means I have to listen with the part of me that cares about things. I mean, they have beautiful answers and questions. And like Deborah's saying, they seem to intuitively already know these things. They're very fascinated by crystals. Many young kids already, their parents, or somehow they've gotten crystals and they're working with them. It is beautiful.
Thank you, sweetheart.
And I say, you know, a special thanks to Marshall Golden Eagle, who shared this story and shares it in his teachings, and, you know, gave me the permission to tell the story and to weave in my own things, like the listening from the heart, you know, is kind of my idea I put in. And so I thank him for offering that powerful story and allowing me to weave my imagination into it.
Oh, I loved it. I loved it. I could record that. I could listen to you say that every day. It's just so beautiful. The thing for me was listening, and it brought me back to my own childhood, which that listening part was cut off. And I spent most of my life not listening, and then reawakened to listening now. And when I do the blessings, when I go into the land and the water, that's the first thing I do is I listen, I open to hear what is the water saying, what is the wind saying, what are the elements saying to me. And so it really touched me deeply, plus knowing that you and Marshall Jack and all of us here are out there working this beautiful path of honoring nature and biodiversity, which is our theme for today as well. So thank each of you and all of you who are listening to this. And I encourage all of you to go out and listen to the water, listen to the wind, listen to the spirits, guide you on your path. And I've written a little thing on biodiversity, but I won't read it unless you want me to, Shelley. It's very short, but it's in the chat box. And it was interesting how it was in sync with your story was about as well. So thank you all for being here and being part of this Loving Waters gathering for the 7 days of rest and reflection. Thank you. I'm complete.
I think it'd be beautiful to read it for the closing, Charlie. That would be auspicious, and we've been doing that with all Charlie's blessings for each days of the 7 days of rest. I just want to add in a piece which really struck me was just the way Little Bear listened to the elder, the level of respect without fighting that energy. And I think, you know, just being around my grandchildren and just seeing so much attention on, you know, their computers and the iPads and the, you know, and even I took them golfing and during the break, he was, you know, using his phone. And I just feel like that respect that gets shared in that story is, I think, you know, sort of an undercurrent message, you know, that anyone or any child that listens is picking up that vibrational willingness to listen to their elder, you know, to ask those questions to the elder. It has been so forgotten. And I'm always overthinking what can I share with my grandchildren, because there's so much resistance. They think they know everything, they don't even care. Like, that's the hardest thing for me to digest, is they don't care. Just get me back to this.
It's very,
And so I just feel like that's a gift as well in that story, the respect that sits there for our elders. So with that, go ahead. You want to say something?
I just want to, offer to any families, children, parents, grandparents, that you can keep a bowl of water or a cup of water at home in a special place and talk to the water there, and offer your medicine, offer your gifts to the water, your love, your gratitude for water. Think of all the things that you use water for: showers and baths, you drink water, you cook with water, you so many ways that we use water, and to thank it for that. Remember, that was one of the things in the stories, to ask permission and also to give thanks. And then also you can go out on the land and find a stream or the ocean or a creek or a pond and offer your medicine with your love and your gratitude and music and shared beautiful words to the waters. So you can do it right in your home. And I do it in the shower. I get in the shower in the morning and say, thank you to the water. I love you. I respect you. Thank you. And help me to be strong today. And, I send my love to you so you're strong. So there's many, many ways that in your own home that you can talk to water.
Well, we have one more way before we close. And I'm
Yes.
going to share the screen.
Oh, good.
And so Maya and all of our Loving Waters Council has created this beautiful pledge that can be used as a way to share in your communities, as a way to share in your schools. This pledge that you can download. We'll read the last part of the pledge, because tomorrow, before we have our full water blessing, closing of the 7 days of rest, we'll read the whole thing. But tonight, in alliance with Maya's talk tonight, I pledge to share my love of water with my family and community, to continue educating myself and others in ways to ensure the purity and vitality of water for future generations. So for those of you who might be watching this for the first time, on lovingwaters.life, the website, you can go there and you can download this pledge. There's a back that tells you the few things that our ideas about ways to use this pledge in your schools as you're reading stories. And maybe I just can see the librarian having the kids surrounding her and reading this pledge and repeating it with the children, or using in your water blessing. So there's lots of opportunities. And again, just go to lovingwaters.life to download this. We're excited to begin to share with you ways in which that this pledge, we're going to use this pledge. And it was just created just before the 7 days of rest. And we're bringing it out, giving it full visibility here for these 7 days. Today, like as Charlie and Maya was sharing, today's focus is biodiversity, really the embracing of all these living systems in working together, giving each other the vitality and love. Here we're specifically speaking to water. So with that, for those of you who are watching, we will be having our new moon call in about 20 minutes. Come on back here, and just following the energy of the 7 days of rest. It might be shorter than usual, but we will be there, and we will do a small water blessing. So with that, Charlie, if you'd like to read, and we'll close this call.
Yes, I would love to read this. It's been an amazing week of synchronicity, and every day before I come on here, I tap into the field of what 7 days of rest has presented for us to deepen our relationship and relate it to the water within me and loving waters. And so it's funny, it's not planned, but Maya, it just is in tune with what you said. And I was remembering about a bowl, we put water in a bowl. And so this is regarding water blessings and something we can think about every time we do pour water in a bowl to put on our altars. And so it's written as thus: a gentle reminder as we gather water for our blessings. Pouring water in a bowl is a reflection of a waterfall forming into a small pond, in which it will spend time attracting and supporting life forms that come to sip and be nourished by its elemental spirit nature. Pouring water forth from the bowl reminds us of the streams which have become rivers, rushing forth to share the wealth of all that has dwelt along their banks and spread forth life along the wealthy shorelines, creating biodiversity. Biodiversity, in turn, improves water quality and helps ecosystems to withstand pressures from pollution. And so, as we gather and return waters, let us also think of how we are contributing as well to honoring biodiversity as well. And with that, I'm complete. And thank you all for being here with us today. Love you. Thank you. Respect you.
So let's just end with the simple emoto blessing that anyone can do with their children. And we'll just all hold up our water. Do you have any? Right. Just really simple. Water, we love you. Water, we thank you. Water, we respect you. Water, we are you. So blessings, everyone. Thank you for joining us. And we'll be back tomorrow at the same time at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific, with our closing. So please come and join us. Thank you, Maya. Thank you, everyone.
Listen.